add to it what Zach does.
We'd like to call this evening's meeting of the Peoria City Council to order. Welcome H. Wayne Wilson and his listening audience at WCBU as well as Cable Channel 22. Madam Clerk, the council microphones are open for roll call.
Artis.
Here.
Councilmember Ali.
Here.
Councilmember Sear. Councilmember Grab.
Here.
Councilmember Jensen.
Here.
Councilmember Kelly. Councilmember Montalongo.
Here.
Councilmember Moore.
Here.
Councilmember Euler.
Here.
Councilmember Riggenbach.
Here.
And Councilmember Ruckriegel. You have a quorum present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'd like to invite everyone to join us and stand for a moment of silent prayer or silent reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. We have a couple of proclamations this evening. We'll start with the, Great American Smokeout, American Cancer Society. All right. Whereas the U.S. Surgeon General has said that smoking remains the single most preventable cause of premature death in our society, and whereas for years the American Cancer Society's Great American Smokeout has been utilized to encourage people who use tobacco to make a plan to quit, and whereas Illinois signed into law raising the legal age of sale of all tobacco products, including e-cigarettes, from 18 to 21 on April the 8th, 2019, and whereas Illinois increased the cigarette tax by $1 per pack, which demonstrates our community's dedication to reducing tobacco use and supporting policies that contribute to that goal. And whereas these demonstrations of success suggest that the Great American Smokeout has potential for improving our community's health. Now, therefore, I, Jim Artis, Mayor of the City of Peoria, do hereby proclaim Thursday, November 21st, 2019, as Great American Smokeout Day in Peoria, Illinois. And I know that we have some more exciting information. Kathleen, did you want to start?
Sure.
Or Ken? Okay.
I'd just like to invite everybody to take Thursday the 21st, and if you're a smoker, try to quit. I know that's a hard thing to do, and if you can't quit, at least cut down. Gives you time to reflect about whether do you really need this or not, and of course I say you don't. But it's an addictive behavior, and we know that some need help, and at OSF we do have smoking cessation classes that are self-referred, and there's no charge to you for those. And we also have, if you're 50 or older and a current or a former smoker, you may qualify for a no out-of-pocket low-dose CT lung cancer screening. It's because November is also Lung Cancer Awareness Month. And I'd like to give you Ken Webster. He's from the American Cancer Society.
Thank you. And I would like to announce that in September, we had 18 delegates from each congressional district here in the state of Illinois travel to Washington, D.C. to present some issues concerning smoking and also lobby for some tobacco cessation and also other cancer-related legislation. we succeeded. We succeeded. We got an award, the American Cancer Society Advocacy Award, and this award is a highly distinguished award only given to one state. So there's 49 other states that are really mad at Illinois because we have done so well with Tobacco 21, with our vaping legislation. We now are going to have a vote on the floor tomorrow in the Senate for increased vaping. So, I mean, not increased vaping, but also just to eliminate it completely. Right now, there's just a piece of legislation that applies a 15% surcharge. So we're making progress. We need your support. So please help us out. We work very hard for you to improve the health of everybody in this state. Thank you. Thanks. Good luck.
Next, we have the Festival of Nativities. Anybody here for the Festival of Nativities? In that case, next we have the Acorn Equality Fund, 20th anniversary. Whereas the Acorn Equality Fund was founded in Peoria on July the 28th of 1999 as a grassroots organization to provide financial support for the advancement of the education, health, and civil rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender persons and their allies in downstate Illinois. And whereas the Acorn Equality Fund has hosted an annual family breakfast since 2001 and the annual Down and Derby event since 2018. And whereas the Acorn Equality Fund has used the donations and ticket sales from these events to provide $469,000 in scholarships to 234 LGBT students and their allies who reside in downstate Illinois, in addition to donating $49,000 in grants to 54 organizations that support the LGBT community in downstate Illinois. And whereas the Acorn Equality Fund provides opportunities, connections, financial resources, and a sense of belonging for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender youth and their allies who reside in downstate Illinois. And whereas the ongoing success of the Acorn Equality Fund can be attributed to their all-volunteer working board and to provide from throughout the state who support the organization. And whereas in 2019, the Acorn Equality Fund will celebrate its 20th anniversary with over 500 community members at their annual family breakfast on the 7th of December. Now, therefore, I, Jim Ardis, Mayor of the City of Peoria, do hereby recognize and congratulate the Acorn Equality Fund on their 20th anniversary. Dr. Naidi is the chair, and he will give us a little more information now. Doctor.
Thank you to Mayor Ardis. Thank you to the City of Peoria for this proclamation. Thank you to the City Council members who have attended and supported us for a number of years. And most importantly, we'd like to thank the community of Peoria and downstate Illinois who have continued to give of their treasure to make these scholarships and these grant funds available to organizations throughout downstate. We do encourage all of you to join us on Saturday, December 7th for our annual family breakfast. It's a great opportunity to connect with the LGBT community and to celebrate all that we do in downstate Illinois. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Reckrigo.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the minutes of the joint City Council and Town Board meeting held on October 8th, 2019, the City Council meeting held on October 22nd, 2019, the special City Council meeting held on October 29th, 2019, and the special joint City Council and Town Board meeting held on November 5th, 2019 is printed.
Seconded by Councilmember Graham. Any discussion or changes to the minutes? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. The motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk.
The first item of business is a public hearing regarding the ordinance levying a special service area real estate tax in the amount of $85,000 for the tax year 2019 for the Westlake Special Service Area, and this is item 19-339.
Thank you. We have a motion to open the public hearing by Councilman Regenbach, seconded by Councilmember Moore. Seeing no discussion, please cast your ballots to open the public hearing. The motion passes unanimously. The public hearing regarding the ordinance levying a special service area real estate tax in the amount of $80,000 for the tax year 2019 for the Westlake Special Service Area is open. Anybody who would like to address the council at this time? We just need your name for the record, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Ardis, members of the council, my name is Chris Oswald. I'm with Miller Hall and Triggs. I represent Westlake Shopping Center in this matter, and the reason we have the public hearing here tonight, as you know, every year we come here and set the levy amount for the special service area. This is per the agreement with the City of Peoria and Morton Community Bank, the lender on the project. The amount that was agreed to is again $85,000 for tax year 2019 payable 2020. It's actually the same amount that we agreed to last year. Due to a clerical error with the county, lower amount was actually levied last year, and that's why we have to have the hearing tonight. Being representing the only property owners in the special service area, we would support that, obviously. So I'm here for any questions, but just wanted to clarify why we're here this evening.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to address the council in the public hearing? Last call, anyone who would like to address the council in the public hearing for the special service area real estate tax in the Westlake Special Service Area? Seeing none, I have a motion to close the public hearing. Councilman Kelly, seconded by Councilmember Montalongo. If there's no further discussion, please cast your ballots. That motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk.
Yes, we're at the township item 19-340 is a request from the town officials to approve the October 2019 actual expenditures and to approve the November 2019 anticipated expenditures for the town of the City of Peoria.
Trustee Graham.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve as outlined.
Seconded by Councilmember Ruckriegel. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. The motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk.
We're at the consent agenda. 19-341 is a request to approve temporary easements on city-owned properties to the Illinois Department of Transportation for the Western Avenue improvements from Adams Street to Howett Street. 19-342 is a communication from the city manager with a request to approve the cancellation of the regular city council meetings on November 26, 2019 and December 24, 2019. 19-343 is a request to approve a South Village TIF commercial rehabilitation grant to A&E Group LLC for 1102 Southwestern Avenue in an amount not to exceed $20,000. 19-344 is a request to approve a South Village TIF facade improvement grant to A&E Group LLC for 1102 Southwestern Avenue in an amount not to exceed $5,000. 19-345 is a request to concur with a recommendation of staff to set a public hearing before the City Council on Tuesday, December 10th, 2019 at 6 p.m. regarding citywide sewer rate adjustments. 19-346 is a request to approve a facade improvement program grant for Scottish Rite Theater located at 400 Northeast Perry in an amount not to exceed $5,000. 19-347 is a request to approve the low bid of Mobotrex Incorporated in the amount of $26,051 for the purchase of LED traffic signal lights. 19-348 has a handout on your desk, a yellow replacement resolution approving the Tri-County Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan as the official hazard mitigation plan of the City of Peoria. 19-349 is a request to adopt an ordinance levying a special service area real estate tax in the total amount of $148,060 against the specified parcels as described in Exhibit A for the tax year 2019 for the Knoxville Junction Special Service Area. 19-327 is a request to adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 5 of the Code of the City of Peoria relating to registration of residential property and inspection of dwellings. 19-350 is a request to adopt an ordinance levying a special service area real estate tax in the amount of $85,000 for the tax year 2019 for the Westlake Special Service Area. 19-351 is a request to approve the site application for a Class A liquor license with on-site consumption and retail sale of alcohol of Rumburgers Holding Group, DBA Della's Lounge, 1801 Southwest Adams, contingent upon issuance of all appropriate permits and a certificate of occupancy, and there's no recommendation from the Liquor Commission. There's also a handout of the Commission's minutes on your desk that goes along with this item. 19-352 also has minutes on your desk that correlates with this item. It is a request to approve the site application for a Class K rental hall liquor license with on-site consumption and retail sale of alcohol at SRC Group, DBA Scottish Rite Theater, 400 Northeast Perry, contingent upon issuance of a certificate of occupancy with a recommendation from the Liquor Commission to approve. 19-353 also has Liquor Commission minutes on your desk on yellow, and this is a request to approve the site application for a Class K rental hall liquor license on-site consumption and retail sale of alcohol at Crafted DIY Studio, doing business as Crafted DIY Studio and Bar, 807 Southwest Adams, contingent upon issuance of a certificate of occupancy with a recommendation from the Liquor Commission to approve. 19-354 has minutes on your desk on yellow, and this is a request to approve the site application for a Class C1 packaged goods liquor license with a retail sale of alcohol at Mezcal and Meal Company, DBA Mezcal and Meal, 3504 North Prospect Road, contingent upon issuance of a certificate of occupancy with a recommendation from the Liquor Commission to approve. 19-355 is an appointment by Mayor Artis to the Peoria Public Library Board of Trustees with a request to concur of Aaron Pinto. 19-356 is an appointment by Mayor Artis to the Tri-County River Valley Development Authority with a request to concur of Deborah Rattler. 19-357 is an appointment by Mayor Artis to the Mayor's Advisory Committee for the Disabled with a request to concur of Francis Coates. 19-358 is a reappointment by Mayor Artis to the Peoria Urban Forestry Advisory Board with a request to concur of Ella Maxwell. 19-359 is an appointment by Mayor Artis to the Fair Employment Commission with a request to concur of Melanie Andrews. 19-360 is a communication from the City Manager, Assistant City Manager, and the Chief Innovation Officer with a request to adopt the 2020 Strategic Plan. And 19-361 is a request to receive and file the month ended September 30th, 2019 unaudited financial report, and that completes your consent agenda.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Items to remove from consent this evening. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 19-351, please.
19-351. Thank you. Councilmember Kelly.
19-327 and 19-360, please.
760. Thank you. Councilman Graham.
342.
342. Any other items to remove from consent? Councilwoman Jensen.
345.
Thank you. Any other items to remove from consent this evening? Seeing none, we have a motion to approve the remaining items. Councilman Riggenbach, seconded by Councilman Sear. Please cast your ballots. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Okay, just one moment, please. 359, okay. Okay, the first item is 19-342, which is the cancellation of the regular city council meetings on November 26th and December 24th.
Councilman Graham.
Mr. Manager, is this your determination to cancel November 26th? Let's start there.
That is correct. That's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And then we would just have the meeting on December 10th, and then obviously December 24th being Christmas Eve, not having a meeting on that night as well.
So you're contemplating that the last meeting of the year would be the 10th unless there's some special need for a special session.
Unless there's a need for a special meeting, correct.
Thank you. Move for approval.
Motion to approve, seconded Councilman Riggenbach. Is there further discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
19-345 is the request to set a public hearing on Tuesday, December 10th at 6 p.m. for the citywide sewer rate adjustments.
Thank you. Councilmember Jensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I realize this is just the action requested is to set a public hearing, but if I got a few questions about the increase in the sewer rate, if you could tonight before our next meeting when the hearing is, explain what the rate increase will cover. It's my understanding it's more than just what we've approved in the CIP.
This is what has been approved as part of the budget. We're estimating that the increase in sewer rates needs to be 7% for this year going forward, and then 7% for the following year. So this will adjust the sewer rates that were adopted in last week's budget. So as we have the hearing on the 10th, we'll outline all of that. They don't go into effect until May 1st, so that's one of the other reasons why, as we started to look at those rates, what we needed to set those at. So traditionally, it's kind of lagged behind when we've adopted the budget. Is we normally set the hearing and then move to make the sewer rates adjusted effective that May 1st date.
Okay, so it's everything that we've already approved. Somebody pointed out, though, it appears that it's twice as much as our CIP budget. It's not, is it? Okay.
No, this is the money that's in our sewer fund that is directly paid on the sanitary sewer bill that people receive throughout the city. It's a blended composition of really 6 rates between what the city has and what the sanitary district has, and we can outline all of that at the public hearing on the 10th.
Okay, and then just so the public understands, because this issue also came up, we haven't reached yet an agreement on the CSO, so this is not planned to cover that.
Correct.
Because we're still in negotiations.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I move to approve.
Seconded by Councilman Seer. Do we have any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. The motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk?
19-327 is the ordinance amending Chapter 5 relating to registration of residential property and inspection of dwellings.
This was Councilman Kelly.
I'd like to apologize, Mr. Mayor, and to the council. I was a little trigger happy on that one.
Okay.
So I move to approve.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilman Ruckriegel. Any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. That motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk?
19-351 is the request to approve the site application for Della's Lounge at 1801 Southwest Adams.
Councilmember Moore.
I'd like to move for approval with a discussion on the other side.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, can I change that motion? That is not my motion. I'd like to move to, for a substitute motion versus what's on the agenda. And I can read it to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So the substitute motion would be to approve a Class B1 restaurant site approval for the location that is being described as the Della's Lounge, operated by Rumburgers. Okay. That is my motion.
All right, and there was second over here. Okay, seconded by Councilmember Jensen. Discussion, Councilwoman Moore.
Yes, I'd like to provide privilege of the floor to Mr. Seraphin to come up. He is one of the petitioners who is opposed to this operation, and then to Mr. Branch to come up. He is the petitioner for this operation. So if Mr. Seraphin can come forward.
Seeing no objections, Mr. Seraphin.
Thank you for the opportunity to address this group. My name is Pierre Seraphin. I'm involved and I operate UFS 1800 Southwest Adams in Peoria. So I'm just going to read a short statement. It will not be long. Tonight you'll be voting for or against a liquor license for Della's Lounge. If you vote yes, I will welcome Mr. Branch as a good neighbor. The last-minute change to the liquor application is very encouraging, and it's a positive move in the right direction. If everybody is aware that this is going to be a restaurant, it wasn't originally presented that way. So I think it is a positive move. I only wish this would have been Ruggenberger South, okay? This would have been a positive step for our community to have a full-service restaurant serving lunch and dinner, which we all could have supported. As of January, I will have 5 decades at UFS. I have used the term many times, stakeholder. It's referring to UFS. As a stakeholder, we have reinvested and we support our community. We employ approximately 60 people, and many are families. We provide health care, vision, dental, and 401k. Yes, we're stakeholders, and our employees depend on us to make the right decisions. In early 2000, we built a 38,000 square foot furniture store. It was a $2 million investment, which houses our furniture and our appliances. In 2018, we took a warehouse across from our main store and opened a clearance center, which added 4 more people to be employed. We made a decision a long time ago. We were committed to the South Side, and we work hard every day to bring people to this community. As a stakeholder, we always try to be good neighbors. We are involved with many charities and nonprofits which serve many in Peoria, especially in the second poorest zip code in our community and throughout the state. Our sales tax that we generate out of the South Side, which many people tell me we're an anomaly, we shouldn't exist. We generate $1 million in sales tax.
Our payroll and benefits that go along with exceed $2 million. Our real estate tax alone is $51,000. The new runoff tax is approximately $10,000 a year. All this revenue goes back into our communities, and that means all of Peoria. So no matter what the results of tonight's vote, know that UFS will continue to fight for positive investment in the South Side and in the South Side community, which will create jobs and create a positive image for the entire South Side. Also know we will be vigilant in that effort. Thank you.
Thank you.
Branch?
I'm Tremaine Branch, the owner of Run Burgers Holding Group. I would like to say, Pierre, I appreciate you welcoming me if we get approved, and I would like to let them know that I would like to bring the same thing to the South Side of Peoria. I grew up in Peoria, born and raised in the 61605, so I would like to see my community hold the same as his business hold.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, in light of the more than amiable conversation between Mr. Serafin and Mr. Branch, I will modify my remarks and just say that there's some things I will bring up in new business that is something that I think we need to address around this council. But to this particular issue, it was Mr. Serafin that we have to thank for the suggestion during the commission, liquor commission meeting, that if this was a restaurant like a B1, that he would be willing to support this in a heartbeat. And it was your mentioning that, Mr. Serafin, that came back, because if you recall, those who were at the commission, liquor commission meeting, Mr. Branch continued to say he wanted a family atmosphere. He didn't want to have some club that I could name that is having all kinds of reckless behavior, but yet we can't seem to do anything about it. Yet Mr. Branch wants to have a family-friendly location where kids can come in with their parents and have a meal, but also old people like myself can go in without fear of being in a different kind of environment and have a meal and maybe a glass of wine. As you know, I don't necessarily drink, but I don't oppose those who are of legal age who would want to go into Mr. Branch's facilities. Mr. Branch has operated Run Burgers for a number of years. Many of you around this horseshoe probably had his wings and have told me that you love them. Those of you who know the location that he's located in at 500 Main Street, remember that was a bar called Purple that had a lot of problems. Yet Mr. Branch was able to go in there, and in the 2 years he's been at that location, there's not been one police call of any kind. And so he's been able to take a location that was considered a problem that had been shut down for a couple of years, and now it is a busy location. I believe he closes at midnight because he's old too. Sorry, Tremaine. But he invites all folks to come in there, all kinds of events that go on in there. And with this location that we're talking about now being a similar challenged location, my expectation is that Mr. Branch will bring in the 25% food that is required of this restaurant license and make that location, to turn that around as well. I suspect he will be bringing people into that location that will be an added value to UFS, who may not have even known that UFS was across the street, and will venture into UFS and venture into the appliance center and venture into the furniture store and avail themselves of the merchandise that is in there. I do, however, want to bring up one point related to this location, and everything else will come back in new business. That there was a bar currently that was licensed on December the 13th, 2018. This body approved a bar in the 1900 block of Southwest Adams. There was no discussion about it. Sailed through the Liquor Commission. Everybody voted for it there. The police department came out with no problems, no concerns at all. They were applying for a Class A tavern license. That was the 1900 block of Southwest Adams. Mr. Branch was wanting to get a Class A license in the 1800 block of Southwest Adams, 1 block away. In fact, 1 block closer to downtown, I might add. Yet he was met with concerns about the location, although this location hasn't had a liquor license in 2 or 3 years. And everything related to that location was prior to him even being involved with the property. And I've asked, and I will ask in the new business for the chief of police to come and explain to us what has been said by his liquor officer, that it's the location, that it is not the person, which is, I'm glad it's not the person. But if it's the location, and you have one that's at the 1900 block, no problem, let's do it, move forward. And 1 block closer to downtown, there's a problem. And to the community, they don't understand that. And I didn't understand that. And to help us all understand how the Liquor Commission determines the site approval versus the individuals that are going in there to run the operation, I've asked Chief Marion to come and explain that to us. So now that we all know, thanks to Mr. Seraphin, that we are going to look, this substitute motion, let me be clear, is for a restaurant license, B1, 25% food, which is what Mr. Brent said he wanted all along. He has codified that in a letter that he has sent to me, and I would forward that on to the liquor clerk in the city clerk's office. And to those who believe that this gentleman, who has run a successful businesses in multiple locations and is about to open it up in Champaign as well, can run this operation successfully, I would appreciate your vote of approval for this substitute motion. Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion on this item? I'm seeing no lights. Please cast your ballots. The motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk.
19-360 is a communication from the city manager, the assistant city manager, and chief innovation officer with a request to adopt the 2020 strategic plan.
Councilman Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think you all have on your desk this amendment to the strategic plan. It's something that we talked about in our sessions, and I think we had consensus agreement on it. So it's well, it is a language change, but I think it is a meaningful change as well. So instead of calling upon the city to provide economic opportunity for all, it is to foster a climate for economic opportunity for all. The City Hall cannot provide economic opportunity. We can only create a climate where that takes place. And then on the second page, there are a couple other changes and one addition. Again, foster a climate of economic opportunity. And then finally, an addition, as you might see it, meaning economic opportunity, supports the development of a business climate that encourages private investment and private employment. Isn't that an employment? Well, I guess employment is not on the page. So can we add that? And employment, I would add to that sentence. So I would move to amend the strategic plan in that manner.
Okay, we have a motion. I believe the city manager sent the corrected version out this afternoon too, so everyone hopefully had a chance to see it. Is that a second? Seconded by Councilmember Montalongo. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
We're at regular business. 19-362 is a request to approve and authorize the city manager to extend the collective bargaining agreement negotiated between the City of Peoria and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local 3464, which will cover the period from January 1, 2019 through December 31, 2022.
Manager or legal? Ms. Peterson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The agreement before you will reach out for 4 years, and in general, we were able to negotiate an agreement that was under the authority, slightly under the authority the council had given us. It calls for a 2% wage increase in 2019, a 2% wage increase in 2020, a 2% wage increase in 2021, and a 1% wage increase in 2022. In addition, all the members of the AFSCME unit that are there upon ratification will receive a $350 signing bonus. Now, to particular units within the contract, the telecommunicators, for example, in order to promote some retention in a very difficult job, we structured a signing bonus and retention schedule that will pay them an additional $250 upon hire, a $500 bonus upon the completion of 1 year, and a $250 bonus upon the completion of 18 months. Notably, this particular contract will continue to freeze steps for the length of the contract. The city was also able to negotiate some language in regards to the Janus decision that would allow members to forego their union dues at any time. And then all of the AFSCME members as of January 1st will be moving to direct deposit, which accounting and payroll we're very happy that we were able to accomplish. I think those are the highlights of the agreements. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Questions for council or motion? Councilman Sear, motion to approve. Is it second? Councilman Ruckriegel. Discussion. Councilwoman Jensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just wondering if we included this wage increase in our budget. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. The motion passes with 9 ayes, 1 no. Councilmember Euler. Madam Clerk.
19-363 is a request to enter into an agreement with Neutron Holdings, a Delaware corporation, DBA Lime, and the City of Peoria for provision of scooters for rent.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a proposal that will not cost the city anything. Lime is a scooter company that is looking at running a pilot inside the borders of the City of Peoria. They'd approached us earlier this year and wanted to do it towards the end of the year. We suggested that the weather in November might not be the best time to do a pilot for scooters, as we can see outside today. And they've agreed to come back in April to bring in not more than 200 scooters that they would deploy inside the city. These are scooters that individuals can rent to take people from one place to another. The scooters do not have a docking station, unlike which is different from when we had the Zagster bike share that was set up throughout the city. So they can be left at the point where somebody decides to drop that scooter off. The company will come by and pick them up, or their independent contractors will come by and pick them up and charge them and then set them out for the next day. They have agreed to indemnify the city and hold us harmless as part of the agreement. They're going to carry the insurance on this for that 90-day period of time, and then they're going to share with us kind of the ridership data so that we can see where this is. This is just simply another opportunity to look at mobility inside the city of Peoria that other communities have been doing and operating with. And so we would just respectfully request your approval.
Okay. Councilmember Jensen?
Thank you, Mr. City Manager, for bringing this to us. I've spent some time in a number of different cities where they have these scooters, and they're utilized quite a bit, and people seem to like them. I do have a couple questions or concerns about it. The one thing that I've noticed both in Indianapolis and Washington, D.C., and even some college campuses, when people are done using the scooters, they just leave them in the middle of the sidewalk. So, and sometimes they're an obstruction to you walking. And I read through the proposal, and there's a lot of things that we leave the company responsible for, but I question how is that going to be enforced?
Well, I think that part of this is for us, this is new territory, so we're going to have to take a look and see how this is. In discussions with the company, what they've stated that they do is they require the renter of the scooter to take not only a picture of it on their smartphone when they've parked it and docked it. So that's going to be one way that we can verify that it was put in the correct location. Once they leave it and they leave the charge of the scooter, someone else could pick it up and grab it and move it. And that could, there's some of that. There are also people that have left them in, when you read the experiences in other communities, that it doesn't necessarily paint as rosy of a picture of where they may end up. But again, this is a 90-day pilot. We're here to just simply try this. This is not a permanent solution. This is not something we're going to be seeing forever. It's simply looking at trying to run this during the spring to see what the experience would be for the city.
Okay, and I appreciate that. I guess just as a follow-up, I'd wonder if they've thought about having certain places where you return the scooters to, just like we do with the bicycles, or if that's something they can look into doing as we're doing the pilot.
Well, again, this is about personal mobility, and this is about taking you from point A to point B, and that is not saying that it's fixed points or fixed locations,
Okay.
but allowing people that flexibility to be able to use them in different ways.
Okay, well, I support this, and I'll move to approve, but I hope during the pilot period of time we can work out some of the kinks and maybe figure out a way to ensure that the scooters aren't just being left all over the city on sidewalks and in people's way. Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second for the motion? Councilman Kelly? Is there further discussion on the item? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. The motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk.
19-364 is a request to receive and file a presentation by Peoria Public Works Department on the July 1, 2018 to June 30th, 2019 annual report of the solid waste contract.
Welcome, Director Powers.
Evening, Mayor, councilors. As you can tell, my voice is at least fallen on its sword. I hope I don't. So I'm going to try to get through this as best I can, and I hope you can hear me. If you can't,
Just a little bit
I'll
closer,
lean
Rick.
in or do the best I can, but
A little bit closer for us.
how about that?
That's better. Thank you.
This is rough. I'm just letting you know. So with me tonight, also in support, we have staff here from both our staff and PDC. So if there's any technical questions that may arise throughout the update or after, feel free to ask, and we'll have somebody come here if I can't answer it myself. So I do have the honor tonight to go through the first year of our renewed contract with PDC. It's a 7-year contract that will be expiring on June 30th, through 2025. It basically addresses single-family residences, duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, includes solid waste collection, disposal, recyclable materials, hauling and processing, and landscape waste hauling and disposal. Other primary services include collection and disposal of stacked condominiums, city buildings, and Peoria Public Schools. So, excuse me, this is really getting to me here. A particular note, yard waste and trash have always had a weekly pickup. The change to the yard waste was extending the collection schedule. No change to the collection of trash or bulky waste, with the exception of a new collection day for 2/3 of Peoria residents. Based on the public meetings and the surveys from 2017 to 2018, the three conclusions that drove the upgrades to the recycling, yard waste, and trash program were: number one, increase recycling was 90% support. 2, extend the yard waste season was 61% support. And 3, improve recycling education and public outreach. Based on all of the feedback, this slide shows the primary changes made to solid waste collection services as of January 2019. I would also note that the trash carts that you're now seeing are owned and managed by the city as is city assets. The recycling carts are owned by PDC. Overall, this was a new vision for service. The former recycling program only had once a month collection, and in order to get a recycling cart, residents had to pay a $50 deposit. The deposit was removed. This, as well as ensuring everyone had a trash cart, centered around a key component to ensure equity, and allow the residents to take advantage of the premier collection services offered by the city. The progress in the first year. National Night Out. You see in a photo to the left here is staff from the city, Foth, and our advertising team, Mott. They all attended the National Night Out to the launch and the sharing of information on new recycling and yard waste and the trash program that would launch on January 2019. PeoriaPicksUp.com was created to be a one-stop source for any solid waste collection information that residents need. They could be to request carts, to get information about the program, collection dates, basically, again, a one-stop shop in an automated form. There were 3 conversation sessions. Prior to the January 2019 launch of the new program, we worked to reach as many residents as possible through various avenues, including a direct mail to every Peoria resident, which you'll see soon, press releases, information on PeoriaPicksUp.com and the city's website, social media posts, advertising, which you'll also see soon, and these 3 public meetings that you noted on this slide. It provided a face-to-face opportunity for residents to hear about the new program and learn their new collection day, again, because 2/3 of the residents were going to receive a new collection date. The conversation sessions were also recorded, pardon me, and posted on the city site and YouTube. The input sessions were conducted during November of 18, as you note in this slide. Here you see the key stakeholders, which some of you were present, involved in those meetings, as well as outside of this chamber, to make sure that everyone had input relative to what the new program would hold. There was also a route audit conducted and a cart audit conducted on every route. The trash cart audit was needed to be conducted in order to ensure all households have a cart, in addition to identifying the location of all city-owned trash carts. The City of Peoria trash carts were tagged to identify it with a unique serial number. Rare Pacific, the city's trash cart manufacturer, stopped at each residential home in Peoria. On a regular trash day, citizens were asked to put, or the residents were asked to put their trash can out, or their cart out, whether they had collection or not, so it could be accounted for. And then when they saw that it had been read, they were left with a bag with information and so on. It was accounted for, serialized, and then there's an electronic tag now it's going to be read. And basically, again, this is just reiterating the fact that the audit was done and documented the trash carts as the assets, not the recycling carts, because the assets that were owned by the city are the trash carts. This is an example of a press release that was picked up by the Peoria Journal-Star and published at the end of September. You see on the left, and additionally the city's website, peoriapicksup.com, which is a picture on the right. I know you can't read it, but they were just put there as examples. This is a mailer that I had noted earlier that went out to every resident. As a result of as I noted previously, as a result of the routes being changed to become more efficient, approximately 2/3 of the city's residents had a new collection day as of the launch date in January 2019. Communicating this to residents was a primary part of Q4 communications, with information continuing to be shared from all the city's communication channels. Here you see an example of a bus tag advertising the change. And from the very beginning, we wanted to show the diversity of Peoria residents in the advertising campaign. A photo shoot was held that featured actual Peoria residents, and those pictures have been used in the advertising campaign, the website, and what you see in this presentation. The campaign itself focused on being in front of all residents. 6 billboards were rotated for 6 months, one in each council district. From there, a mix of digital, print media was used to extend the campaign. More examples of the advertising. On the left, you see a new newspaper print in December focused on the collection day changes. In the middle, you see a recycling billboard, and on the right, you see a trash billboard. You may also notice a color scheme is kind of starting to develop in this area. Purple is for the general program, blue for recycling, green yard waste, and orange trash. This, I think, was a point of discussion of this body, the movement from alley to curb collection. So the program that began in January 2019 moved all recycling collection to the curbside. Historically, recycling collection had been done in the same location as trash, so residents with alley pickup were accustomed to recycling pickup in the alley. That presented a problem for some residents, as getting to the cart to the curb was difficult, or they preferred having carts in the same location for pickup, Following a council policy session vote on March 5th, recycling pickup changed for some Peoria residents as of 1 April 2019. As a trial period, residents in these particular neighborhoods had their recycling changed to once a month pickup from April 1st through June 30th, 2019. Residents with alleys had recycling collection back in the alley, with residents with curbside trash collection setting their recycling carts at the curb. After the trial period, residents wanted to return to every other week recycling with the ability to have recycling collection in the alley. That was completed per a contract amendment with PDC. With that, a communication plan was developed in June of 2019. And there was that comprehensive plan that continues to evolve each year. It includes a primary audience each year, primary property owners for all years, and secondary audiences. For example, year 2 has new recyclers, year 4 is targeted toward neighborhoods, etc. There's annual key messaging, digital media initiatives, print media, and additional elements for each year. This is the actual contract amendment language. I won't read it for you because I'm having trouble even talking when reading the verbiage here. There was also a cost implication. In order to have this contract amendment passed, details on the associated cost are included in the results section of the report that I'll go over here in a little bit. Another part of, make sure I'm on the right slide, I am. Another part of launching this new program that will continue each year is working collaboratively with the other departments, local groups, and organizations, producing regular updates for the City Council. And this will provide a consistent information for the residents of Peoria. A particular note, again, the call volume has increased as a result of these changes and the city taking over the trash cart assets from PDC. There's more burden on Peoria, CARES, and the Public Works Administrative staff to manage the calls. Regular training in FAQ allows for everyone to be able to answer residents' questions with consistent and current information. The city works to have this communication in place to be proactive, knowing the trash affects every citizen of this resident of Peoria, and the city will continue to be reactive and monitor the calls and adjust as necessary. The results part of our study. So residential unit count has been identified in the contract for this period is 38,800. The residential unit count is a key component of the contract because it dictates the cost to the city. The contract specified once per year the contractor shall conduct a route audit including the number of residential units actually served. They then must submit those results by July 1st of each year to an agreed upon or negotiated if the count results in a significant change in number for the purpose of payment, obviously. This slide indicates our cost increases. You'll note in the bolded areas those cost increases were in recycling only. This is the only cost for PDC collection of residential units affected by the amendment. Disposal costs are not included. There are other costs for the city of Peoria not included in this table, including stack condominiums collection, disposal cost, carts, cart management, program management, education, other solid waste collections downtown, etc. Increased cost for recycling is due to the contract amendment seen highlighted within the table. It was a change from the original proposal accepted by the council in 2018 due to a recycling pickup location for alley areas that I identified earlier. In order to provide the every other week alley recycling, the amendment increased costs for recycling. The trash yard waste cost increase did not change in the amendment. The increase to $6.38 and $3.19 from year one respectively are in the original contract as annual adjustment or 2.75% annually. The recycling cost increase is from a new unit-based pricing cost sheet in the amendment and includes annual adjustment and increased service costs. With this also came a primary change in operations that resulted during year one of the contract. The city took over the management of those assets, or the carts. In order to do so, the city hired a trash cart technician who oversees the maintenance, deliveries, warranties, and inventory of the trash carts and the neighborhood trash cans. This role also helps the city contract manager with oversight of the trash services provided by the contract with PDC and has resolved and will continue to resolve numerous residential concerns and issues. Vision allows for trash cart information to be in one location for easy access to ensure accuracy. It allows for multiple users and real-time updates, integrates field office activities, and provides needed reporting and documentation for asset management and trash cart budget decisions. This role came with the responsibility to educate the public to answer calls as well. And that number per Vision from 1 July 2018 through June 30, 2019 is 1,939. The slide speaks for itself. This is our total collected materials and the tonnage reports. The next slide is our the participation rate, And the participation rate, in case you're wondering, equals the households that have actually received at least one recycling cart from PDC. Here's a comparative showing Davenport, Iowa, and the national. You see we're on track for a national, a little bit behind Davenport in that area. Keeping in mind that Peoria is in the beginning of a new education campaign, and while we've surpassed a national participation rate, looking at a community like Davenport, Iowa provides a comparison. Davenport has a similar single-stream recycling program. City officials have learned from Scott County, which is Davenport's location, about the launch of their program, participation, and other details. However, we do have some aggressive goals, which you see depicted here. The goal is to achieve 95% recycling participation rate by year 7 of the collection services agreement with PDC. This is key as well. The contract also includes a renewal term with minority workforce as a component. The agreement shall automatically renew for an additional 3 years until June 30th, 2028 if PDC meets these requirements. 1, minority workforce comprised of 28% of individuals working as part of this contract. 2, 95% of residential units have at least one recycling cart. And 3, 90% customer satisfaction rating is determined as per the city prepared and executed survey. This shows a breakdown of the numbers provided by PDC of where they are. The contractual requirement, is 18% minority workforce with a goal of maintaining 28% minority workforce for the duration of the agreement for those employees engaged in providing services listed in the agreement. And then I outlined what those were in the contract earlier, so I won't repeat them. Our communication efforts, outdoor billboards, buses, you saw a bus earlier, some print ads, newspaper, and so on. And these are impression numbers that have been provided by our contractors. Pardon me. And this is just more media that we've done. Oh, let me go back one, pardon me. Peoria Picks Up. Here's some of the stats from Peoria Picks Up. This basically is showing where we have website hits, new visitors, blog subscribers, sign-ups, and so on. Should have also noted in that previous slide that, again, you can go to that site, recycling carts, where residents can sign up by calling PDC or filling out a form on PeoriaPicksUp.com. And for a trash cart, they can do it. They can also sign up by calling Public Works or going to PeoriaPicksUp.com. Year 2 of the contract. Some of the things we're looking to do here. Billing database updates. And we're working to confirm that residents are being charged accurately for services they're receiving. We want to review residents in their districts that have equal opportunity access to recycling. And we want to review neighborhood trash can locations for high need areas. PDC has the capacity to pick up to 250 of the new neighborhood cans. You're probably seeing them out in the area that replace the old concrete cans. We will have added capacity up to about, I think there are about 200 out now. So we'll be reviewing that. We want to kind of take a year or so and to see how this plays out where they are now. We have had a few extra added in some areas where we have a lot of foot traffic and so on the sidewalks. But there's a depiction of what the, well, there's one of the cans right there you see in the picture. So I'm sure you're seeing them out. They have been deployed. And we'll be reviewing their locations throughout the year. There are also many activities that began in year 1 that will continue throughout year 2. We'll continue to collaborate with our relationship with PDC. In the area of the trash cart and neighborhood trash cans, we'll continue to make sure that every residential unit has access to a trash cart, plus continuing to provide neighborhood trash cans throughout the community where they're needed to ensure geographic equitability in the areas of high need due to known litter. For condos, city buildings, and Peoria Public Schools, we'll ensure services are offered that match those in the contract. And then with the numerous meetings that community development attends, and they're on the forefront of many of those meetings and events, they're already a collaboration, but moving forward, we'll also be reviewing ordinances and other programs and contracts to ensure the meeting the goal of what Peoria wants to provide as a premier solid waste program for the city. Throughout the 7-year contract, the communication efforts continually evolve. During year 2, the contract, the focus is on the different types of recyclable materials, what can and cannot be put into a recycling cart, as well as how to prepare materials, flatten boxes, rinse cans out, etc. Each year also specifies a target audience for that year. Every year has a focus of property owners, but year 2 also specifies those new to the program, especially recyclers. Another primary focus is expanding Peoria Pickup.com to ensure residents can use the website to get answers to all their recycling, yard waste, and trash questions. Website expansion includes information specific to current residents, renters, landlords, new residents, residents moving, and community leaders and groups, as well as expanded information about recycling, yard waste, and trash as needed. I can't believe I made it with this voice, but I did. Again, I will stand by for any questions you have, or again, we have staff here and others if you need it.
Mr. Manager, and thanks for bearing through that with no voice, but did I miss a copy of that presentation? Did we have a copy of that out before the meeting today? Okay. And
We did not. We'll make sure to get a copy to the council.
yeah, I think, there was a lot of information there, and it was just because of the physical limitations of the director, it was kind of hard to hear and take all that in. So what I'd kind of like to ask at the risk of duplicating our efforts here is to come back at the next meeting after we've had a chance to read this material and formulate questions, because I think there's a lot of positive information in that, but I also think that we deserve, to have a time to, that was a pretty extensive PowerPoint, and not only, I think with the council like a little bit more time, but our constituents would probably have a little bit of questions too. So I'm just suggesting that rather than get into it tonight and get into it again at our next meeting, if it would be the will of the council to maybe have this information in advance and go through. We have a couple other lights here. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. Director Powers, don't say anything. I just want to thank you for bringing this forward, and I've been with that throat where you are, and I'm still ending. So the fact that you went through this is amazing. So thank you for that.
Okay.
I do want to say that when we do come back, I will tell you now that what I like about this program is the diversity of the different people who are in the images that I've seen on billboards and I've seen on the buses. That is exactly representative of our community. So I thank you if it was our department or a PDC or whoever was responsible for that. That is exactly what I'd like to see. What I also liked about this presentation was that it dealt with many issues. Not only did it talk about the need for recycling and how many of these and those that we have, but he also talked about the diversity of the employees that are within the PDC operation, which is always something that we need to be mindful of. So this was a presentation and an approach that I think we could I would like to see that modeled on other things, Mr. City Manager, other than what's in the Public Works Department. So don't say anything, but thank you. I do appreciate the report and would like to get a copy of it for next time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Councilman Sear.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also, thank you, Director Powers, for this presentation. Just a couple comments or questions. And I don't know if that should be directed to City Manager or Director Powers. I'd be interested in knowing what the weekly cost is of the pickups, number one. Number two is you talked in one of your slides talks about the communication efforts. If I remember, my recollection is are we responsible for the cost of the communication, or is that part of the contract where PDC had an amount for communication or marketing?
I believe we took on the role of responsibility for communications in the new contract.
Okay, do you recall what amount we're spending on that?
I do not. I think it's in accordance.
And last comment or I guess the comment, my last coffee with councilmen, some of my people that were there, constituent, or having some problem keeping track of pickup times. And the reason for that is because we're going every other week, which is 26 weeks per year. And that's why I was asking what the cost would be per week, because if we go the same time, like twice a month on the same date, it might be easier for some of our constituents to not miss the dates that we're picking up the recyclable, basically.
So, to that effect, out at PDC's website, they do have a calendar you can download and print that shows you the weeks that they will come and pick up recycling. depending on where you live in the city. So you can go and you can look. There's also a map that we have on Peoria Picks Up that will tell you how much or what days of the week or what route schedule you're on, so that then you can go get that schedule to print that off and have that. I have that schedule on my refrigerator at home, so I know when to roll out the recycling. This is a $9.5 million contract with all of the costs fully loaded. So you're looking at, and that includes yard waste, recycling, and trash collection. We're spending $182,714 a week on trash collection next year. So that's for 38,800 households. That's what we're spending per week. So $182,714 per week.
Thank you, Director, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Ruckriegel.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess thank yous coming through. Wonderful presentation, a lot of detail in there. When you do come back, if you could include maybe one other slide, and that's on something that I think we do here in the city, which a lot of other cities don't do, which is the bulk disposal. I don't know if you can bring back some information on the number of households that's utilizing that and maybe some capacity over the year, or what sort of tonnage we're picking up from there, but I think it would be important to kind of see that as well. Thank you.
Councilman Graham.
Director Powers is the little green creature on the screen. This is the debut of the new Public Works mascot.
Oh, that's actually one of our employees. And forgive me, I'm going to have to
Cy Maroon, did you say, or
no? It's not Cy.
He's not here.
And I'm not. I know who it is. I'm not going to say who it is because I don't know if they would forgive me. What is the name of the? Carly the Cart. I'm sorry.
You know, I think that there really is a serious reason for the question. I think as much as possible, especially with our young children, I think branding is important for our department. For many years, Smokey the Bear was very useful in helping to prevent forest fires. Who can forget that? And we are trying to educate our citizenry to be more concerned about the environment, participate more in recycling. Is there any thought being given to a mascot that would repetitively be used in our signage and our branding as a city?
Looking at it, Counselor, is the one that I understand it to be. Is this going to be a continuation? And I'm going to have to defer to the staff.
Right, and thank you for the complete report. And being old-fashioned, I would like it paper form.
I believe we'll be providing this to the council.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I'm not seeing any more lights. We'll receive and file this presentation and expect to probably be a little more thorough at the next meeting. So it's a receive and file. Councilman Sear, seconded by Councilmember Euler. Please cast your ballots. The motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk.
We're at unfinished business.
Any unfinished business before the council this evening? Unfinished. No unfinished business. Madam Clerk.
We're at new business.
New business come before the council. New business, Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a couple of items. First, I'd like to remind everyone about the Southside Market that's inside of the former Save-A-Lot location on Western. Last Saturday was the first Saturday, and then we have 2 additional Saturdays this coming Saturday, and then next week is the last one for the season. So that gives an opportunity for those farmers and others who have produce and other items and locally made items to come into a building that has been graciously donated, if I recall correctly, to the South Side to use for this purpose. So just a reminder about that this Saturday from 9 to 1. The second item is I'd like to request the HR manager, director come before us in December. with the diversity goals report. That way we can have a baseline for 2020 and beyond. What I'd like to see in that report is what the city diversity expectations have been and are. If it could be broken down between management and non-management, just for city staff, not for police and fire, because we get that under separate cover. And it would be broken out between male, female, and by race. And by race, we're looking at how folks identify themselves on their applications versus what we may consider them to be. I think they know more who they are than we do, so let's buy the application information. And lastly, when we come back, it is my understanding that the City of Peoria has an affirmative action policy that has to be filed with the federal government. And part of that policy indicates that we provide a posting of promotions, individuals who are promoted within the company being the city. I'm not sure exactly if that's being done, but I'd like to get that to be answered. If we are submitting those promotions as we do when we have job openings, then that's a wonderful thing. I remember when Alma Brown was here in the mayor's office, that was something that she attended to, so I'm not sure if that moved to someplace else or somebody else. I'm sure we're probably not doing the newsletter she was doing when she was here, but that posting in each department. And what that does, it does a couple of things. For those who receive a promotion, it makes them feel good that, hey, people know I got a promotion, wonderful. And then for the city, it adheres to our policy that we are telling the government that we're doing anyway. So if we could get those diversity numbers by our next meeting, December the 10th, and go back, I believe we are required to keep them for 7 years. If we could get them for 10 years, that'd be great, but if we only have the required 7 years, that would be a great start. So that's the second item. Is that something that in a month's time, December the 10th, we could bring that back? Thank you, sir. And then the last item, I indicated under new business, I would ask Chief Marion to come in the issue that we talked about earlier with the location that Rumburgers is going to own. There was a lot of community frustration, and I think it was born out of the not understanding quite the difference between site approval and the person that runs the operation. So I've asked the Chief Marion to come up and just to explain to the community how a location is judged to be approved for that site when there are specific examples that I provided the chief earlier where the same identical location in July, and it just happened to be the location that we're talking about earlier, in July 2018, the police department submitted a letter to the Liquor Commission accepting that site and indicated no concerns. That was in July of 2018. In November of 2018, that very same site that had, the only thing that had happened at location in those months was a baby shower. And I don't think there was a whole lot going on at the baby shower. But when it came back in November of 2018, that very same site that received police acceptance in November did not receive acceptance, and that's the site that we approved tonight. And so what I tried to express to the Liquor Commission officer from the police department is very bad, because nothing happened other than he received additional pressure. And if it's approved in July, but then in November it's not, it's a bad look. And then when we have one bar in the 1900 block that gets approved, but the same type of operation in the 1800 block, it's a bad look, because the only thing, color your own opinion about why that happened, but the community needs to have some comfort that there is equitable consistency in how these things are happening. And so to that end, I've asked the chief just to explain to us how these come about And is there any opportunity for a person who is deemed to be, that site to be deemed to be unacceptable, to be coached as to how it can be a yes? We don't always want to be the department of no, when perhaps we can be the department of no, not right now, but if you did this or did that, or if it was this other thing, it could be acceptable. As we saw with Mr. Branch, had he known, we have, 50 or more different liquor categories? So an individual off the street is not going to know what they can do. And if it wasn't for Mr. Seraphin suggesting this other thing that got everybody to think about it, we probably would have had a negative result. And so with that as teed up, can you explain to us how this whole site approval works? Thank you.
Maybe before the chief starts here, because I'm not sure I followed all of that. So, I mean, just to put some parameters, I mean, this could get into a full-blown policy session that maybe we need to have. I'm just looking to see, are we trying to get an answer on the specific place tonight, or are we going to have a general discussion about what constitutes site approval? I heard about 10 questions there. And all I'm asking to do is just for the context of new business. Are we going to try to frame this up for tonight?
We want to keep it very simple.
Okay. Maybe just so I understand that.
The question is, how does site approval work?
Okay.
And then if we want to have a policy session at some time in the future,
Okay.
that's fine.
Fair enough.
But for the community, because of all that went on behind the scenes, we all need to understand how site approval works. And that's it.
So what we'll do is the chief is prepared to answer your questions because you guys have already talked. And then I'm pretty confident that there's a lot of additional questions and discussion that will ramp out of this that I think it would be very productive to have that type of open community discussion so people understand how we do that. Would that be okay?
Accept.
Very good.
Yes, thank you.
Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilwoman Moore. I'll try to keep this as simple as possible and as short as possible. Basically, with site approval for a liquor license, we look at what liquor license is requested. So, for example, a Class A liquor license was requested for 1801 Southwest Adams. So we look at that site specifically. It is site-specific and not owner-specific. So we look at that site and the previous businesses that have been at that location. We look at the previous calls for service and incidents that have happened at that location and whether or not that location would be detrimental to the community in that area. You brought up the 1900 block of Southwest Adams. We look at that site specific. When you compare the two, the 1900 block to the 1800 block, it is, we did not have any issues in the 1900 block, but in the 1800 block, we had several issues at that specific location to include a shooting at that location. So in short, that's what we look at is what the class is requested, and it is site specific.
Go into policy session. That's exactly what I wanted you to explain to the public. And so as we go forward, we'll use that explanation, the site and the license that's being requested. And we can have a policy session on everything else in the future. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any other items of new business? Councilman, I had Councilman Riggenbach. Is yours still okay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I think if I can just piggyback on one point on that, if we do a policy session, which or further discussion, the classes, I think, is something that's really critical for all of us to keep in mind, but more importantly for the public to keep in mind. The original request tonight was for a tavern, for the Class A. And we throw letters and acronyms around all the time, so for those listening, forgive us for that, but a Class A is different than what we approved tonight, which is a restaurant use, which mandates 25% of food. So I think that's really an important part of the discussion that we need to have with the community at large going forward. But my light was on specifically to talk about two meetings that will be taking place next week in the East Bluff. On next Tuesday, since there's no council meeting for a change, we're going to be meeting at Glen Oak School, and the East Village Grow Salt Committee will be discussing opening the residential rehab program to non-owner occupied properties. This is something that's been brought up ever since the program's been in existence, and there does seem to be enough funding available, so there'll be a discussion with the community on that. So that's it. The East Village Grow Salt Committee will be meeting at 6 p.m. at Glen Oak Learning Center. Immediately following that, we're going to pick up the discussion we began late last summer on the potential for an East Bluff SSA. That would replace the SSA that's expiring at the end of this year, and we know there's a lot of need there, and we just want to get a little bit of a pulse as to what the community would like to see, what the needs are, what the wants are, and what kind of funding mechanism we could put in place. So next Tuesday, 6 p.m. in the East Bluff, East Village Grow Cell, and a community discussion on a potential SSA. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Montalongo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is for our city manager. I know we haven't had much feedback for the new Firehouse 16 on Northmore. I'd like to get a committee together to be able to give some feedback before anything's finalized. I'm thinking like neighborhood associations, the schools, and any other stakeholders in the area, just so that we get some feedback from the community there. Okay, thanks. One other item to just to give some feedback on the Ring doorbell. As y'all may recall, on November, I believe it was November 2nd, Saturday, the first Saturday in November, we had the event, the City of Peoria and Ring Company, that was held at Northwoods Mall. There was several questions on the total number of these items that were sold. There was 412 Ring doorbells sold to individual households. Many of them purchased multiple products for their home. That leaves a remaining 588 as the city approved 1,000 cameras. We still don't have a plan yet, but we'll be coming up with a plan on what we're going to do with the remainder, and I will bring that back to the council, as well as an outreach communication that we'll put together. And also just to give some feedback on the policy session that we may go into, some of the comments that I give to people who are looking for a liquor license, there's a bit of work that goes into, and that's soliciting feedback from the neighborhood associations. You got to hunt down the key stakeholders, have that meeting with the police chief or police department, and talk to council members. I think that's really important part of getting all that first feedback, and of course probably members of the Liquor Commission before you go forward, so you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. But anyway, that would be my feedback on that for our policy session. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Grab.
Several days ago, the Board of Trustees of Bradley University, in concert with the president of Bradley University, had a dedication for the new Convergence Center on the hilltop. And the Convergence Center, as most of you know, many of you have been there already, will house under one roof the School of Engineering as well as the School of Business. And about $100 million project, more great things to come. A small part of the engineering complex remains to be done. Bradley is a very important employer. Great things are happening on the hilltop, and I think all of us can take pride in that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other new business tonight? New business? Going once, going twice. I have two really quick ones. Number one is, Mr. Manager, I see a copy of our 2021 budget on our desks. Typically, we get a kind of a draft budget the first time, and we actually have the finished budget product here, so thank you very much for that. Secondly, I'd like to ask Chief Olahai to come up to the podium here for a couple quick questions. While he's coming down, I went to a very interesting press event at Central House today where a young man did a very nice presentation on an Eagle Scout badge that he was working on, and it had to do with fires and how fires would move throughout a house, and it was extremely interesting. I was there to just observe, and Chief Olahai was kind enough to call me out of the crowd to come up and say a few words with no notice. So I told him that there would be payback for that. But the real reason I'm doing it is because we canceled our meeting, our next meeting, and between now and then will be Chief Olahai's last day as the chief in the city. So I wanted to take the opportunity to recognize the chief for over 35 years, I believe, or close to it, and on the department, and filling in and doing it, not filling in, performing as our chief for the last couple of years and doing a great job. We wish you, on behalf of the council, we wish you the best of luck in retirement, and we want to thank you for your service to our community.
Just real quick, I just want to say it's been a pleasure. Real quick, I just want to say it has been a pleasure. It's been a true honor, to be the chief of the Peoria Fire Department. Something I'm going to miss greatly. And again, I just want to thank you guys for all the work you've done with us over the last couple of years, and we look forward to, the fire department. They'll move on without me, so looking forward to sitting back for a little while and relaxing. But with that, thank you guys all very much.
Thanks, Chief. Madam Clerk?
Yes, we're at citizens' opportunity to address the city council.
Okay, citizens to address. I just need your name for the record, please. We have a 5-minute speaking limit, and up first is Spanky Edwards.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members amongst the Horseshoe, the city of Peoria. My name is Spanky Edwards. I am a resident at 1209 East Fry, Peoria, Illinois, 61603. I rise this afternoon to ask questions about the death of David Smith. David Smith was a man who passed away approximately October 29th, 2019, after not properly receiving medical attention from the Peoria police. So I have a question that I would like to ask you, Mr. Mayor. Is it standard practice for Peoria police to arrest an unconscious man who's taken from his house and not provide him while he was unconscious? We have a video of two of Peoria's finest dragging a man who obviously was not able to walk and arresting in handcuffs in a police car. Is that standard practice for Peoria Police Department to treat an American, a free American who had been accused of armed robbery? I have questions about this armed robbery that he was being accused of, simply for the fact that there was no mention of a gun in the report. The store, he was accused of armed robbery at the Johnson convenience store at 8:30 a.m. Johnson's does not open until 9 a.m. We have a problem with the timeline of what the Peoria police, as well as their spokesperson, have sent. I feel like they have intentionally deceived the Peorians and the American people. We have a problem with that. So I have a few questions. And it's just to be able to hold our elected officials accountable. This happened about a week or two ago, and to this day, we have not seen video footage or police cams. We, the Peorians and taxpayers, have spent a lot of money on these police cams, and after several attempts to FOIA those body cams, we have not, and the public, the media, have also not received the videos of what actually happened. So we demand now And that needs to be a policy change, that police did not get first dibs to look at the videos, and the people and the media are left out until after that investigation. That is problematic. We as the people and the attorneys needed to have the opportunity to see that video as soon as the Peoria police and their attorneys are able to see that. So that's what we have today. Is that standard practice for us to arrest a conscious man and then not provide him with medical attention? If that is precedent in Peoria, then we have to be able to do that. We demand it. We owe this family and this community our demand. They need some sort of accountability. They need answers, and that has not been provided. We have a video of that. It's about maybe a 30-second video of him being dragged. Is completely contradictory to what the public was told by the Peoria police. So that's a contradiction. We have video evidence, and we have them. We don't have a official complaint from the store owners. We do not have the store owners' video that have been released. So it's their word against the 30-second video, and it does not look proper. It looks like a cover-up. And again, I'm just asking these questions because I'm very close to this family, and they don't know what to do. All they know is they had a relative who had a heart issue who was arrested. And there has not been much accountability from this board, and that's what I'm doing. It's my responsibility. And so that's what I want. I want to be able to, again, have a conversation about that, as well as police body cams. What is the point of having body cams if the people who are paying for them don't have access to them like we should? So that needs to be released. And we demand that the where is the gun? That's a question that was raised. There has not been a gun that has been discovered or in the report. So that's what I rise to tell you, and I'm open to having a conversation to all of you, Chief Marion, and as well as any other police union or whatever we have to do in order to provide this family with answers about what happened to Mr. David Smith, an honest testimony of what happened to him. Thank you.
Up next, we have Crystal Fausto.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christelle Frausto. I'm a local business owner and also head of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I just want to say thank you tonight for approving Mezcal and Miel, my next business. I'm very excited to grow with the city of Peoria. I attend different events just to get a pulse for the city since I'm pretty new around here, and city council meetings are part of it, but I also attended a Legends Peoria Magazine event where it honored Joe Billy McDade, and he said Peoria is fertile ground. I completely agree with that phrase. I think that's the easiest way to describe how and why I chose to move here. So I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to continue to grow, and I look forward to giving back to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
We have an executive session.
Madam Counsel.
Executive session pursuant to 65 ILCS 120/2C11 for pending litigation.
Okay, we have a motion to go into exec by Councilmember Euler, seconded by Councilmember Sear. Please cast your ballots.
Add 2C21 to that also, please.
In 21?
Yes.
Okay. Seeing no objections from the makers of the motion, please cast your ballots. The motion passes unanimously, and then we have a motion to adjourn by Councilmember Riggenbach, seconded by Councilmember Kelly. Please cast your ballots. That motion also passes unanimously. We'd like to thank H. Wayne Wilson and his listening audience at WCBU, as well as Cable Channel 22. The next regularly scheduled council meeting will be the second Tuesday in December. We hope everyone has a pleasant and safe Thanksgiving holiday. This meeting is adjourned.